The Judicial Service Commission began its marathon interview session yesterday. It's spending 2 days interviewing 8 candidates for the highest court in the land, the Constitutional Court. The first day saw candidates facing tough questions on land, personal conduct and transformation. 3 candidates, including 2 judges and an advocate, were in the hot seat. Day 2 will begin with Judge Mathopo, a judge of the Supreme Court of Appeal, who's up for the Concord post. Judge Mathopo served as a High Court judge for 9 years before joining the SCA in 2015. While at the High Court, he ruled in a case relating to the Zuma spy tapes. This has in part paved the way for the former president to have his day in court. Mathopo will be followed by former prosecutor and military judge Mohabe Molemela. She's expected to be in the hot seat before tea time. 3 other candidates are also scheduled to be interviewed before the day concludes and the committee deliberates. This is an ongoing story. We'll keep you updated on proceedings throughout the day. Back to you in studio.
It's a seminal judgment in the law of defamation. It's a judgment by Cameron J, as he then was. It's Holomisa versus the Argus newspaper. It's on the law of defamation. That judgment is quoted extensively everywhere, and you cannot do any case of defamation without any reference to that judgment. It's a 1996 judgment, and I was still then young, CJ, and I am proud to say that is one of the most contributions that I made as an attorney. Again, CJ, I may emphasize that my counsel of choice to respond to your question, whether my briefing patterns were skewed or not, Advocate Dalim Pofu was my counsel of choice then. And then our association as far as goes a long way. So I had confidence in him against a big newspaper with all the funds and everything else that he would do justice to my brief. And indeed...
Should we ask him to recuse himself?
No, CJ.
Okay.
Yeah. Then, CJ, I then had to... I was appointed as a judge in the High Court. Very early in my judicial career, I was allocated, before that. It was unheard of when I started at the High Court that an attorney could be allocated agent court duties. I became a guinea pig. I was put in that court. And I'm proud to say that I acquitted myself very well, and with the result that, unbeknown to me, the powers that be decided that I should take up residence in that court. I was more in that court every second or every third or fourth week. That helped me a lot because it capacitated me. It made me a judge that I am today. And the sky did not fall. And as a result of that, other judges, other acting judges were assigned those duties in the agent court. And because I've succeeded, a mere mortal like me, why couldn't others succeed? Then I was allocated a matter of print media versus the Films and Publication Board, dealing with censorship and also dealing with some constitutional issues of Section 16.2 of the Constitution of the Films Publication Board, which I declared that section to be inconsistent with the Constitution. That judgment was taken up on appeal to the CC, And the Constitutional Court confirmed my judgment. So in other words, CJ, I had knocked at the Constitutional Court very early in my judicial career. I then had occasion in the Urgent Court to write a judgment on arrest suspectus Dei fuga. Those are civil debtors and civil imprisonment. The matter had come before a senior judge in the Urgent Court, and the senior judge had ordered that the debtor be arrested, and the debtor was arrested at the Morningside prison cells. When my turn came for the Urgent Court on reconsideration, once after the senior judge had finished his stint or his term, it filled me with a sense of uneasiness. And I said, this cannot happen. I ordered the immediate release of that person and wrote a judgment. And because the issue of the constitutionality of the section was not squarely raised, I touched on it and left it open. And CJ, you had occasion later to deal with the same principle in Malachi. And then you quoted my judgment authoritatively, and that gave me peace and happiness.
Well, I must confess at that stage that I don't remember having met you before. I don't remember whether I even knew your face, but anyway.
Our judgments met. So, CJ, then whilst at the Joburg High Court, I was exposed or put mostly in motion courts, opposed, unopposed, and everything else. There is one aspect that I need to bring to the attention of the Commission is, a year after my appointment, that was when there was a course on fast-tracking of women judges, and by Minister Mabandla and Chief Justice Langa, may his soul rest in peace. The women were then asked to come to the High Court in Joburg to be mentored. As you would understand, some would be there and their judges would not be having work. I looked out for the women, aspirant women. I remember I had one interesting insurance matter. I had the 4 women sitting just below, aspirant judges. And then we went through the hearing and everything else. And then thereafter we would have discussions. And in that way, I empowered them. Remember, I was a year old on the bench. I was able to identify and understand that they are not there through any accident. They deserve to be there. And some of them are, or most of them are judges now, and some have followed me to the SCA, and some have acted in your court. So it was a pleasurable experience for me. CJ and the Commission, the Joburg High Court prepared me for the SCA. Like I said, my judgments preceded me. I was exposed to a variety of cases. I was in the tax court. I did IP work. Then I had no experience at all with tax matters. I was thrown into the deep end, and I'm responding, CJ, when I raise the tax issues, to the lack of experience or thereof. So I was put in that court with an experience, with a tax experience, one may recall it, limited to a postage stamp or to that return form. Then I was able to sit in that court, wrote judgments, went to the SCA, some of my judgments, some were confirmed, one was not confirmed, painfully so. And whilst at that court, then I was allocated one heavy tax matter. I think I need to say this because it gave me a sense of satisfaction that this is a tax matter which had been going on for more than 12 to 13 years. And it traverses a lot of countries overseas and everything else. And when the council approached me, they said they would take about 3 weeks to lead the taxpayer only. And I realized then that if one were to go on in this way, I'm going to be here for the next coming 12 years with this tax matter. So what I did, quite unconventionally, obviously with the concurrence of the council, then I said, would it be possible if I can give you a week to go back and reduce the evidence of the taxpayer into an affidavit? And they did exactly that. They reduced that evidence into an affidavit, and then they gave me an opportunity to read the affidavit, and I read the affidavit. It was in a more 2 Act files. And then we would start with cross-examination. So that's when cross-examination started. After 3-4 days into cross-examination, the matter got settled. And it saves the fiscus a lot of money in terms of personnel and in terms of the refund to the fiscus. So this is the exposure that the Johannesburg High Court provided me with. I do a lot of training for the Joburg High Court. I still do. Now I am moving on to the SCA now. CJ, when I got to the SCA in 2014, I had missed the SCA bars in 2011 for reasons not relevant for the purpose of this commission, and which was painful to me, but I knew that my time will come, and it came in 2014. I was allocated 3 judgments in my first term. I wrote them all. 1 judgment went to the CC, and we were found to have been wrong. I was the scribe. I was set aside. It's Arun versus the City of Cape Town. And on the panel, I had Justice Nafsa, Justice Ponan, Justice Teron, who's now with the SCA, and retired Judge Willis. The judgment of the Concord was written by DCJ Museneke. And in the second term of the SCA acting, I had occasion to write a judgment, Pfeiffer versus Van Wyk, a judgment dealing with enrichment lien. Then the second senior judge suggested that we should give an extempore judgment, and the term there is to imp it. I refused. Remember, I was number 5, I was junior. I refused, and I said, the reason why I'm in this court is for me to write. And I wrote the judgment, and the judgment was marked not reportable, even though I thought it should have been reportable, but the panel said, it's not reportable, I accept it. And lo and behold, the judgment found its way in the hands of the academics. I think Professor Slema, in the last interviews, asked me why I did not make it reportable, and I told her that it was not my choice, and she said she liked the judgment and she was going to prescribe it to her law students. So that is another contribution that I made to the law students, arising from my insistence to write the judgment. And I want to say again to Professor Slema, thank you for that. CJ, I wrote many judgments at the SCA. I also wrote on tax, I wrote on IP, I sat in panels, I sat in panels where we did customary law, I think about 4 or 5 cases. Ludidi, Mpepu, and the late Mama Winnie Mandela's matter, and the criminal matter of Inkosi Abatembu Dalinyebo. So my experience is diverse. My experience, I would regard myself as a versatile lawyer. I wrote another judgment at the SCA with insolvency practitioners, and it went to the Concord. The judgment was confirmed. The majority judgment written by Brother Jafta and Justice Madlanga writing the minority judgment. And CJ, there's a judgment that I wrote again at the SCA dealing with the K word, and which I found it offensive and not having a place in our modern society. Again, CJ, I don't think you knew me then. You had occasion to write a judgment, and then on a particular topic, similar topic rather, and you then quoted me.
We're coming out of that process. No need to tell you. You heard the voice of the Chief Justice Mogoeng, who is in today's panel. So is Advocate Dali Mpofu. And I think EFF leader Julius Silomalema, but I stand to be corrected on that. Being interviewed at the moment, Judge Ramaka S. Mathopo for one of the 2 posts at the Court, currently a judge of the Supreme Court of Appeal. He's been a judge since 2006. The interviews running until the 23rd of April.